Couch potatoes, metalheads, gamers, all of the above. Mike back for another Friday Night Lights, and I'm not alone this week. For the first time, I have a couple of guests on the channel because I thought, what would be a better idea than to have two authors come on to talk about everything except books? Because you know what, guys? Authors are people too, or at least that's what they tell me. Guys, you know Andy, he's been on the channel with me on Mike's book reviews before. You know Chris Ruocchio because I talk about his books all the time, and he's been on there with me as well. But I thought it would be a great time to, one, introduce these two, and two, let's just see what all we can talk about, because we were already kind of griping about some things. We might be a little bit of grump in here tonight, and there might be some things that, you know what, we might talk about some things that we love, because in the end, we are all fans of these things. So let's just go ahead and start off, since this is Andy's first time on this channel. Let's go ahead and let him say hello first. How are you this evening?
I am fantastic. I am delighted that it is Friday. The work week is over, and I get to talk about geek stuff because it makes me very happy.
that it does. Christopher, what's happening, man? You taking a break from writing to chill with us peasants for a night?
I mean, a little bit. You know, I'm pretty close to finishing, book 6 here, so that's great. It starts to feel, better and better as you approach the last page. So.
Okay. Well, if you got to write a little bit if we get you some good ideas during this discussion, but I'm going to write that in.
Oh yeah, that's
you ever take that as a challenge? If someone says like, "Hey, I bet you couldn't find a way to write that into your story," would you do that?
Oh sure, right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, Andy, but like, people say things like, "Oh, you can't do that." You're like, "Wait, no, wait, no." Sure we can.
I am God Emperor of this universe. I can do what I like.
Yes. Right. I control the vertical and the horizontal. So, yeah.
Until somebody else changes what you wrote 80 years from now.
Well, man. Okay, man. We're gonna go in at the beginning.
We're gonna start off with that. Woo. Okay. Yeah. I mean, look. I'm always in favor of not banning books like at all. In fact, I think when you ban them, it makes people want to read them more. But now you're just flat out changing them when the author has no feedback on that. Wow. Talk about wholly overstep Batman, right?
It's far more insidious and disgusting. This is, I think Bradbury was perhaps optimistic, one, because we don't need to burn the books because most people aren't, reading them anyway. And
no, Bradbury was like, they're going to start changing art and they're going to make you think that it was your idea and you're okay with it. And what do you see? You see people being like, whoa, this is for the best. Like, oh my God. I mean, everybody always thinks they're living in 1984, but now it's like, geez, I mean, come on. So
I thought we were getting close, in the late 90s. And then it's like, oh, look, steroids. Here we go. And the thing about, because I read through the book and like the changes that they had made from the old version, and I don't know that books necessarily need to be sacred relics. I know that things change post-publication, either because of the author or usually because of the publisher. Okay. But what got me like a knife in the back was removing things like ugly or fat or, the genders of the parents. It was just like, whoa. You give me some color somewhere, please. And once you start editing out words like that, it gets real anxious for me.
Yeah, like taking out like Rudyard Kipling, things like that. I'm like, okay, I see. I disagree. Obviously, I see why you would do something like that. But I was like, we can't say someone had a job. Now it had to be like if they had like a successful business or something. It was like just the weirdest, pettiest little thing. It's like, wow.
And in every case too, right? It made the prose worse, right? It drained the color from it. It took the art out and it just put it in a bunch of dead air. It's just these people, are just ugly all the way through the sort of editor, revisionist class.
I do always forget Brave. I always go 1984, Fahrenheit 451. I always do skip over Brave New World. I'm pretty sure Christopher's gotten on me for that in the past. He's like,
maybe, but they're all three like very important. So
and now they're seeming kind of, remember when they were speculative fiction? Those were good times, right?
Right. Why couldn't we, get the cool speculative fiction with laser swords and
Beatrice, we're talking about Ronald Dahl. The publisher decided to basically rewrite his books and take out anything offensive, and obviously we're against that. I've got two authors on here, and I'm pretty sure they have strong opinions about that. So yeah, there we go. So hey guys, did you hear that Warner Brothers is planning to make new Lord of the Rings and new Harry Potter movies? Well, here's the thing. remember when they announced Rings of Power? I was like, well, I guess it can't really be much worse than the Hobbit trilogy. The Hobbit trilogy is like the Lord of the Rings trilogy compared to Rings of Power. So.
Oh, that was such a good stack. Thank you for doing that.
Right. So I wonder now. It's like I know they've already talked about they're doing like an anime about the Ride of the Rohirrim. Okay, cool.
Okay, so that one I'm optimistic about.
Sure.
Because it's Kenji Kamiyama who did Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, which is amazing. And so there's maybe a chance there, right? And it's tied into the Jackson films, right? Miranda Otto's coming back to narrate, and so maybe maybe I think if any of them has a shot, it's gonna be that one. But man, I just after Rings of Power in particular, right? Tolkien is practically scripture to me, and as he is for so many of us. I just don't know, man. I try to give each project sort of air, on a case by case basis. So like maybe it'll be good, but like Rings of Power was not. So
yeah, I was tried to stay like positive about it at first, and it basically it was like you could tell it was they wanted to make an MCU movie out of Lord of the Rings. That's all they wanted to do. They wanted to make an MCU movie out of it, and just that's not the same universe, guys. It didn't work when you tried to do it with Star Wars, making it an MCU movie, and it definitely isn't going to work when you try to do it with Lord of the Rings. With this, okay, whatever. I mean, I wish that there's so many great fantasy series out there that these big studios could be adapting. I wish they would take a swing on a new one, because I mean, like at one point, think about it, 20 years ago, Peter Jackson was taking a swing with a new fantasy series in Lord of the Rings, basically, because it had never been successfully adapted.
Two people, yeah.
It's outside of the cartoon, which I actually thought was pretty fun.
Yeah,
I love those. But I'm just saying that, people were still taking chances. Now it's like, okay, I understand they've got these properties, man. They want to use them, but I'm like, this ain't it, and it just seems to me like all they're doing is counting down the clock until they can reboot and remake the Peter Jackson trilogy. That's it. Same with Harry Potter movies. They're saying that they're going to do one based off of the time period of Hogwarts Legacy, the game. But I think that, and that's fine. That's a big enough universe. I think they can do that. Sure, you can play around with that. But it's only a matter of time until they just try to reboot and redo it the way they want to do it.
Well, and the thing that, Christopher, I'm with you as much as I possibly can be, like with the idea of giving it air. And I like being positive, and I like living in an era where fantasy and science fiction are being made into media on a regular basis. We get to see all this stuff. The thing that kills me is that it's Warner Brothers.
You see, he's a fellow DC Comics fan. He knows the pain of Warner Brothers. You're never really going to trust anything when it has that in front of it.
Yeah. Oh man, they've been just such a mess. Yeah, Mike, I think I probably differ with you on this, but when I saw the James Gunn list of DC film plans, I just like, oh great, like I don't have to see any of them. I don't care about
anything I've despised, so I want to trust them. But yeah, I already was like, dude, you should not even have announced that TV stuff, because all that is people are just like, great, more stuff I don't have to watch. But yeah. I get it. I'm glad he's not scared of making a Superman movie, which apparently Warner Bros. Has been scared of for 15 years. But
longer than that, way longer than that.
Yeah, so,
I mean, Warner Brothers is the IBM of Hollywood, right? It is run by suits with calculators stapled to their heads. And all they want to do is figure out a way to build something that's going to make money, which is why, Batman, let's make that. Harry Potter, okay, let's build that. And so everything that they get their hands on that works, they're going to kill it to death by making more and more of it until it finally just buries itself into the ground. Like, what point are we going to be at where we finally stop getting Batman movies for 20 years?
Never.
Ever? It has to stop sometime, doesn't it?
I want to say sure, but like what I've always said is like, people talk about how, the Marvel movies are so much better than DC movies. Like, you guys don't remember Marvel movies before they spun off and had their own studio, do you?
Yeah.
They were just as bad, if not worse. Go watch the original Daredevil movie and tell me that that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. There was no unified front. There was no Kevin Feige kind of running the show and saying, this is how we do things. It was like, okay, we're going to sell it to Fox. We're going to sell it to Sony. Go make
And that's
whatever
where DC Comics is at. They're still with Warner Brothers, who does not understand what people want at all. But what they do know is that Batman and Superman merchandise sells a lot. They make enough just off of T-shirts alone that they'll never, ever let go of those rights. Ever, ever, ever. Yep. But however, I gotta say, I'm starting to wonder: is the MCU finally starting to lose the hardcores? Because I haven't heard anyone say they like the new Ant-Man movie or that they really liked Last Phase outside of Spider-Man. Are you hanging on, Andy?
Shocked when Ant-Man came out last week, and I said, "Okay, Will, my 11-year-old son,
do you want to go?" And he said, "No."
He said, "It doesn't look very good, Dad."
That was my kid with after Last Jedi. I was like, "Well, do you want to see the next Star Wars movie?" He's like, "Nah." I think he's a big Luke Skywalker fan, so he wasn't interested anymore, So I think with the MCU, say with my kids, is there's no Iron Man, there's no Captain America anymore. He's like, nah, I'm good. Well, he didn't even like the last Thor movie either. So
I actually wanted to do this with you guys just out of curiosity, because the list is Phase 4, and I just want to walk through 7 movies real quick.
Oh boy.
Black Widow. Thumbs up, thumbs down feelings?
I have not watched one. After Endgame, the only one thing I've watched is Spider-Man movies. I tried to watch a new Thor because I liked Ragnarok so much, and I made it about 40 minutes in and said that they needed to keep Taika Waititi in check, and they didn't do it at all. So I'm the wrong person to ask. I've said after Endgame, the comparison I keep making was like, okay, this is like staying at a party after all the people you want to talk to are gone. You're just staying too long now, and you're talking to everybody that you don't really care to talk to very much. That's how the MCU feels to me now. It's characters I'm like, if you're a diehard, yeah, sure, you might still like some of these characters, but I was like, come on, who the fuck wanted to go see the Eternals? Come on.
Okay, I know where he stands.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. I think Spider-Man was the only one I went to see too, with the exception of the Daredevil episode of She-Hulk, which was also not good. I loved the Netflix, the 3 seasons Netflix did. The Defenders was kind of, but it was okay. So I wanted to see Charlie Cox back, and it was. I mean, it wasn't really about him, right? But it was so tonally bizarre, But no, I don't mean to be a downer, but I don't think I've seen any other ones either.
Okay. Which gives us Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man. That's 1 yes. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. My feeling was, out of 7 movies, I enjoyed maybe 2 or 3 tops. And I don't know how much longer you can keep having people eat the same turds before they say, I don't want any more turds.
Yeah, it would have been such a prudent move to just take a break after Endgame, right? They could have walked away on top, and they could have looked like, I think, kings. Because even the people who were like, these movies are getting kind of stale, were like, this was still like fun. Like, I had a good time going. And if for no other reason than you would go just to like be with everyone enjoying this thing. And it feels like, they stayed on stage too long. If they'd taken even 5 years and like thought about like an actual sort of, really thought about a new plot, because the impression I've gotten looking at, because like you can't escape the coverage, right? Looking at all this from the outside is just that, like there just wasn't really a big plan. Like it sounded very disjointed from the outside looking in.
And making people have to watch this stuff on Disney Plus was kind of mean, honestly.
This is the other thing too, right?
It's supplemental, not necessary.
This is especially offensive to me as someone who just likes cinema, right, as an art form. Like, when did movies become like part of like insufficient in and of themselves, right? Like, you had to watch like all these TV shows to go and enjoy a movie. Like, that is extraordinarily arrogant on the part of the the sort of planning apparatus, right? Oh no, these people, they'll understand our movie because they will have spent 100 hours watching it. Like, actually, no, like my dad has not watched any supplemental Star Wars material, right? Like, he's not going to do that. And I think there are a lot of people who are like that. They're like, Darth Vader's not in this one, I'm not going, right? Or like, I'm not gonna watch a TV show to watch a movie. That doesn't make sense. Maybe, those are boomers, right? But at the same time, those are also people who like don't actually like want to watch 18 shows to understand what's going on. And like a work of art should be able to stand on its own, right? Whether that is one TV series or a film or a trilogy of films. You shouldn't have to like the worst example of this was with Rise of Skywalker. I remember
read a bunch of prequel books to understand it. Yeah.
Right. Well, even worse than that, right? I was asking like, who were all the people in the arena with Palpatine? And then some guy on the internet was like, if you'd read the art book, you would have known that this is the cult of the, like, if I have to read an art book to watch a movie, all right, it is either, like some weird French film or it's bad or both, right?
Makes me think of what was it, Dune 1984, where they basically had to have like a booklet explaining what the movie was about to people before they watched it. Like, what?
I got one when I walked into the theater. They handed it to me.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know they did that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
They handed you a glossary.
Because David Lynch wanted the movie basically to be like 4 hours. And like, no, we got to get it down to this so we can get more showings in the theater. And he's like, it's not going to make any sense. Like, that's okay. We'll put out like a pamphlet. That was Dino De Laurentiis. Yeah, that was his brilliant idea. So yeah, that's why it got boxed for 25 years before they tried again.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, and you were hang on. You've been talking about Dune, Mike, the last couple of days. Like, I don't expect you to like it, right? I think that's one of the things about Dune. You could make a perfect movie of Dune and people would still hate it because there's people that just don't like that story and are never going to. And I'm half of one of them.
Yeah, so what I said was that it just a lot of people. It's just that's not necessarily a story that's going to click for everybody. So that's one of those I say that people think I'm going to get upset when they say they didn't like the movie or they didn't like the book. I expect most people not to, just because it's not a book for everyone. I've been dealing with that since I was a teenager, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, right. It's just really genuinely one of those, it's a sci-fi pillar, but it's not universally loved. It's universally regarded in one way or another, and we all kind of know that the books go downhill from the first one in one way.
Well, wait a second. We got Mr. God Emperor on this call here.
I think the fourth one is awesome. So,
I'm sorry. That's right. You're the God Emperor fan. One.
It's the book where Frank finally says what the whole thing is supposed to be about, and it's interesting to finally get the context, sort of thematically speaking. And it's like so weird that it's just, there's nothing like it except the random episode of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy that is a parody of it. So,
Hey, Andy's got a good question here for you, Christopher. So does this mean the next Sun Eater book, you don't have to require any of the short stories and novellas to understand?
You do not know, but you will, get more out of it if you want to read that stuff. But I don't think they're mandatory.
He was saying cinema, not books. Calm down.
Well, do you have to read every book about a period of history to understand it? Like, no, but like it helps. And sure, it helps to read the stupid art book too, but. The presumption that your audience should or has to, go into all of the supplemental material, is arrogant on the part of the people making the product, and is really annoying on the part of the defenders of these things. Right? When you're like, I didn't think the movie was very good. Oh, it's because you didn't, invest in, the Marvel comics that have been coming out for the last 2 years.
You do your homework, yeah.
And like, if you shouldn't have to do homework to go see Star Wars, Dune maybe a little bit, right? But like Star Wars, I don't know.
Gloria's review after we walked out of Dune was, if you like being confused and the color brown, this movie is for you.
Yeah, my wife still has never read the book, but she even watched the sci-fi adaptation with me, and she watched the original movie with me. And she was like, yeah, if I didn't know what I knew from the first time watching what you told me, I'm not sure I would have understood everything in the first movie. So I get it. I get it.
But it was commercially successful. It worked. People liked it. It certainly did a lot better than the Lynch version. I mean, everything other than figuring out how to put somebody on camera with a tube sticking out of their nose and look good, they figured it all. It figured the rest of it out.
Yeah, we just cast Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, and you get the young people there, right? There you go. Denny B, he's a genius. He's a genius. Here's the whole thing with that with Warner Brothers is we complain about Warner Brothers. Now it is legendary, but Warner Brothers funds and that's fine. That's what you should do. You should fund everything. Give me the money and get out of the way. But anyway, why Warner Brothers is going to have no problem supporting Dune, and if Denny wants to make a third one, is because it won 7 Oscars. And you trust me, the one thing that Warner Brothers loves more than money is recognition. They love some Rotten Tomato scores. They love some Oscars. They love to be pounded on the back about being kings of the universe. So that's why I think that if Denny does want to do Dune Messiah, they're going to let him.
Well, it's because they have calculators stapled to the side of their heads. And when you ask them how many awards they have, you can go 8.
Yeah. I don't know, Christopher. You think he'll make? He said he wants to. Do you think they'll end up letting him make Dune Messiah, or do you think it just depends on Dune Part 2?
I think it really. I mean, obviously it'll depend on Dune Part 2, right? But I think our odds are, better than they've ever been. So,
what do you think about him saying that he's only that's plans to be his trilogy?
I think that's super weird because I don't think that stopping at the end of Messiah makes any sense.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I guess if he wants it to be that's Paul's arc, I get that, but I'm like.
It's like not though, right?
If he doesn't want to do God Emperor, I get that. If he doesn't want to do God Emperor, but I was like, Messiah and Children of Dune is one book, man. It really is.
Yeah, you need to stop after Children, maybe. Right? As hilarious as it would be trying to like force Jason Momoa to like work through God Emperor, right? Like I just don't think he's up to like multiple Duncans and like all of that really. It's just that's I think a little too outside of his comfort zone.
See, this guy's rewatching Stargate. Maybe you need to throw in a little Stargate Atlantis and remember why Jason Momoa is awesome. Maybe that's why.
He is cool. I'm on Atlantis now. I just got season 4.
Oh, nice.
So,
nice. How is that rewatch? Andy, did you ever watch Stargate SG-1?
Stargate SG-1, I watched the first season when it was out, and then I lost track of it and wandered off looking at something shiny.
Yeah, it happens. It's hard to do weekly sci-fi, I think, when you have a real life. See, I was at the age where I had no real life yet. So I was able to just invest every Friday night to new Stargate, new Battlestar Galactica, new Farscape episodes. That was fine for me as a nerd. That's why I do this show on Friday night.
Right.
Because I don't have anything to do.
I've got a question. We were kind of talking before we went live about, I'm not really liking a lot of the new stuff and this isn't doing it for me. So my question is, what are you digging into now that's serving you well? And
for me, I feel like HBO stuff is still quality. I think Apple TV's putting out some really good stuff. Basically stuff that's not just a rehash, a remake, a redo, just sticking to safe IPs. Disney Plus. So basically, I like Severance on Apple TV. It was amazing. That was amazing. It was original. I really enjoy Succession on HBO. That's really good. They just announced the last season of that. Season 4 is going to be the last season of that. So as much as sometimes we'll gripe about some of the things that HBO does, I still feel like at least their stuff is usually pretty consistently watchable. At least
are we not going to put Last of Us in that list?
I seem to be the only one not really liking it that much. The only one, and I don't know. It's just all it is The Walking Dead. It's just The Walking Dead. People are like, isn't that enough? No, we already had The Walking Dead, and I think that game was not The Walking Dead. That game was about this relationship, and they've changed Joel so much on that show that I'm not liking it. But I don't like being a wet blanket though. That's the thing.
Oh, you don't.
So if everybody else is liking it, I will step back and say, okay, cool. I'm glad that you guys are having a great time with it. But I still think it's quality. If it's HBO, it's quality. It's just it's not the same thing for me. And it's not because it isn't a page for page adaptation. That's not what I'm saying. Just I feel like they're missing the whole overall theme and they're changing things that don't need to be changed. And it's you listen to the after show. Why did you change it? Because great. Thanks. I guess you haven't watched it yet, Christopher?
I don't really like zombie shows. So I didn't watch. I watched one episode of The Walking Dead. It was like, yep, this is what I think it is. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am the wet blanket guy. I know that.
No, we are going to warm you up. We're going to dry you over a rack and make you comfy and cozy. So if the new stuff isn't working for you, what is the stuff that you're looking at in the past that you're taking joy out of now?
Well, yeah, I love Battlestar Galactica, and I've got Madison watching that now. And so I started rewatching that again because I do that every couple of years. It's like my favorite sci-fi show ever. So, but I know Christopher's running through Stargate again, and I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, I just realized I hadn't watched it in like a decade. So, and I needed something to watch because I got a treadmill, and I figured I'll do an episode a day.
Yeah, you're pretty young, Christopher. Did you know that Colonel O'Neill used to play MacGyver?
Yeah, I
did know that. Okay,
in fact,
just making sure.
Yeah, no, I have in fact watched MacGyver. So
did you catch that joke? And like, I think it was the pilot episode when they said, I think it's Daniel said it took us like a month to MacGyver one of these back home.
I think it was Carter, but yeah, of course. Carter, okay. There are a few MacGyver nods in there. Not as many as our Wizard of Oz jokes, right? But no, like they don't make like problem of the week sci-fi shows anymore. They don't really make problem of the week shows anymore.
Yeah, so really got serialized.
Yeah, that's just sort of format is gone and dead. And my wife watched a bunch of the episodes with me, and she would sit down like right at the beginning of an episode with me and be like, "Wait, do we know this person?" Like, no, right? Like this is what this episode is about.
Anthology episodes, yeah.
And I have to like explain, like, no, this is how TV was. Like, I don't know if you remember this. Well,
it's still out there. It's just all forensic shows now. It's all
yeah, that's true.
Crime shows, forensics are all still just client of the week. Yeah.
But I think I miss that. I also miss like 22 episode seasons. I get why we don't have them, but
I don't know. Look, I suffered through 9 years of X-Files here. That's what we talk about. One of my favorite shows of all time. Don't get me wrong, but there are some bad stretches in X-Files because of the Monster of the Week format.
No, you get some duds, but you also get some like weird kind of more experimental stories that you won't get in.
I can appreciate that, but I don't miss the filler episodes. I feel like if I could completely miss an episode and I feel like I've lost nothing out of your program, that's a struggle for me. So I would prefer
that's true too, right? Like the recap clip episodes are always a waste of time, right? Like those are the most offensive example of that, but you still get these sort of just weirder, more experimental scripts that or just like silly ones in the middle of what is otherwise a pretty serious. I mean, it's
I feel like the way that Buffy did it. Buffy would do Monster of the Week, but it would have like one or two scenes that would progress the storyline for the whole season ahead a little bit. I always kind of liked that method was pretty well done.
Yeah, and again, like I get that there are problems with it, but there are problems with the way we do TV now, right? So you do
syndication is basically pointless now because if you haven't watched every episode, a random episode is going to be like, I don't know what's going on. Can you imagine? Like I saw 24 is in syndication. Like if you missed like a commercial break during 24, you're like, I don't know what's going on this show.
Right, it's gone.
But Lon, you're absolutely correct. Sopranos is hilarious. I don't know anyone who watches Sopranos and doesn't laugh a lot. It's very serious, but there's a lot of stuff. Either one of you guys watch Sopranos, or did you miss that boat?
Oh no, absolutely nuts for it. I was the guy screaming at the TV when the series ended.
Oh, something happened. My TV cut off. I'm pissed. I need to cancel HBO. You cut off in the middle of that. Oh man, the arguments, and then all the arguments about like, oh, you just didn't understand if you didn't like that last episode.
Too artistic for you, man.
Oh man, did you ever watch it, Chris?
Oh yeah.
You liked it? Okay.
Yeah. No, I
didn't want to stereotype you.
Well,
you had to watch The Sopranos,
right? No, it's funny because my dad just watched it like a couple months ago, and he was just over the moon for it. I think for the first time, and it was actually for a lot of those reasons. It's like, oh, it just reminds me, my family's in organized crime, but just there's still a lot of like cultural, crossover, and so that was kind of nice for him, I think. The family used to be from New York, but he was the last one who ever had any ties up there. So,
all right, guys, you heard that Christopher is in witness protection. Confirmed. That's not even your real name.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Now I gotta go.
Yeah.
Well, looks like Connecticut.
He's been cut. So Matt has it right. Battlestar Galactica will have one of those episodes where it is just kind of character development, lets you know a little bit about a specific. I think that what they always kind of would do is like character of the week. They would focus an episode on one character, much less than the monster of the week, because the cast was huge, and they would kind of focus on one character and make you kind of understand how they work a little bit more than you would get when they're just like when Saul Ty is just like shouting orders on the bridge all the time. Then you get like an episode scene about why he's so grumpy. Things like that add a lot of context. So yeah, I love that writing style. That's Ronald D. Moore, man. Ronald D. Moore is one of the best. Star Trek, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. That's this guy's amazing. You guys Trekkies at all?
My Trekism stopped with the television shows somewhere in Deep Space Nine.
Oh wow!
And then I like the Chris Pine movies, but I'm not watching Picard.
I'm not watching it anymore. No,
I just at this point I want to put him in the Professor Xavier wheelchair and just say, "It's okay, Patrick. We're going to get some pudding. It's okay."
Stop making this guy walk. Gosh,
it's like, why are you working? You have tons of money. You're fine. Stop working. The thing that made him great was the voice, and now the voice is gone. And he just feels feeble, and it's like
people have been telling me, Picard season 3 is pretty good. They got Riker on there now, and I'm like, okay, great.
Riker was never good.
Oh no, I like Riker, but yeah. I mean, they still ain't brought back Worf. I'm like, okay, nah.
It's interesting though that it sounds like they took some criticism under advisement. So I don't have a dog in this fight, but it is interesting that it feels like or sounds like there's some course correction. I don't. I guess
I think Strange New Worlds, they were like blown away when it got like critical or it got acclaim from the fans because it was like Star Trek. And they're like, oh, this is what people want. They want their Star Trek to be Star Trek, not Star Wars. They realize that. And I think they have listened because Steven Eriksson's a real big Star Trek critic. And he was saying Strange New Worlds, I should probably give that a try. That I probably actually enjoy that one. But yeah, I watched Discovery for a year and a half and I was just like, it's over. It's over.
I admire your ethics.
I tried. I mean, I want to be fair on these things and understand they got to try to reel in new fans. It was like, wow, so now Star Trek is trying to be Star Wars. Star Wars is trying to be, God, I have no idea what it's trying to be.
Profitable.
Hey, speaking of, Christopher, you going to watch Mando? I mean, I know that like Mando 1 and 2, you were lukewarm to positive.
They're like, okay. I don't know. Probably, yeah.
When he first started his YouTube channel, guys, he was just doing Mandalorian reaction episodes. It was really great.
I thought that would be fun, but only 4 people watch those, so I stopped doing that. So
yeah, I have the same problem. That's why I started a second channel so I could talk about these things, and those 4 people can enjoy it.
Yeah, you're gonna react anyway. You might as well record it.
Sure. Well, I stopped reacting because, I also, and you may have noticed, Andy, I get kind of negative about these things, and that's not actually that fun, at length. I know there's a whole cottage industry of whining on the internet, but that, isn't what I want.
I try not to do that. I mean, I try to stay positive, but I'm not going to lie about things that people ask me about constantly. I don't talk about that. I just be like all the time. Why aren't you talking about the new MCU movie? Why aren't you talking about these, Disney Plus shows? Because I don't like them, and I don't want to bring you down or make you feel bad because you do like them.
I'm going to throw something out there. When my kid said he didn't want to go to Ant-Man, he said, okay, I just want to have Bryce over and spend the night and we'll just watch a movie. I said, you guys want to watch a movie here? Yeah. Would you guys be interested in Jaws? And Bryce's eyes lit up. And I got to tell you, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen that movie, but I'm beginning to think that revisiting the classics in an orderly fashion is the right thing to do because every frame of that movie is perfect.
Yeah.
I could completely forgotten that he picks up your emotions and makes you feel anxiety every 3 seconds for the next 2 hours.
Yeah. Prime Spielberg was untouchable for sure. Sure. And I mean, my oldest watched Jaws and he was excited when I finally let him. He had been asking a lot longer. But once I finally let go of letting him watch R-rated movies, which, by the way, now my oldest kid is 10. His favorite movie ever is Terminator 2. And I'm like, that's a good pick.
That's a good movie.
Pick. Number 2 is Jurassic Park. So, yeah, he's pretty much list. Basically whenever I feel like he's old enough to watch something, a movie that I loved, I'll go ahead and show it. Some of them land, some of them don't.
Sure.
He's loved most of the Arnold movies, obviously, because I mean it's in his DNA. I mean, come on, it's Arnold. But again, Christopher's really young. He might have missed the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, but
I did not.
I'm just gonna keep dunking on how young.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, I'm young and vibrant. Yeah, make fun of me. Yeah. No, so yeah, show your kids classics, man. It's good stuff. Share it with them. I think it's really, really good.
Well, what it becomes is an excuse to go back and look at stuff that you haven't, because you've got that list in your head of your top 5 and 10 and 15 and 20 movies of all time. And, I generally try to avoid them because I don't want to poison the well so that they lose their kind of spark. But, going back after, like when you haven't watched something for 15 years, that's virgin territory right there. Yeah. And it's all of those emotions hit you brand new.
My wife tells me, my wife says, one of the things I love about you with movies is every time you watch this movie, you feel like you act like it's the first time you've ever seen it. I'm like, the magical ones, you better believe it. Yeah. And that's mostly growing up with prime Spielberg. Seeing a Spielberg movie felt like magic. It really did. I wish you could find that again, but I got to accept the guy's like 83 years old now, and it's probably just never going to happen again.
He's Prospero. He's broken his staff and released his magic. Yeah. Shakespeare's last play. We just let him go.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I mean, everybody I think that watches Jaws now will just be like, man, I'm damn if that movie isn't just a banger. It's really good. And the fact is, like, that movie is really so slow paced, but it never lets you go.
Not one moment. It from the very moment that Chrissy goes into the water. There is not one scene of, hey, how you doing?
That's up there with me with Raiders of the Lost Ark as like one of the greatest openings to any movie ever. Does anything set the tone better than the beginning of Jaws? Oh my God, man. Woo. It's like if I'm writing a horror novel, I want to make something that amazing right there. Get the viewer just like that. That's great stuff, man.
Yeah. Speaking of Raiders, I watched the first 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, there's only 3.
Yeah,
there's only 3.
I don't hate 4 as much as most people do. It's a huge step down. But I hadn't seen Temple of Doom, but like maybe I think twice in my whole life. So I made a point of watching it this time, and it was significantly better than I remembered.
Oh, good.
Just significantly better.
Yeah, when I was younger, Temple was my least favorite one, but we watch all 3 of them, me and the kids now.
I mean, like Willie is like hugely annoying, right? But like. But besides that, like it's still a fun time.
It's the darkest one out of the 3 of them.
Yeah,
ripping out people's hearts and shit.
Yeah, and it's great. They got I forget his name, but the Bollywood actor who plays the main villain is terrifying. Right?
Bolaram,
yeah. I'm sorry, T-Boke just said in the quotes, it's a tiger shark. A what? When you look at that community, they're so like 70s ugly and the worst clothes, and he never lets anybody get a line out that doesn't get covered by another line. So this town kind of creates this community of colors and pieces where like every single bit of it is brilliant. The guy's going fishing in the pond, a tiger shark. A what?
I like the mayor with his blazer that's got like the little anchors on it. I've seen so many people with like do the cosplay of that guy, and I'm like, what a weird guy to choose to cosplay. But I guess
one of the best villains ever, because he's just a bureaucrat.
Just wants the beach to be open.
Just wants to keep the beaches open. We don't know what happened, Martin.
Yeah. And then the lady comes up and slaps Sheriff Brody. I mean, come on. He was telling everybody to get the hell out of the water. Right? Yeah, I've always
great villain.
Yeah. Peak Spielberg was untouchable, man. E.T., I still cry every time like a baby when I watch it. Like I have to the kids are just like loving this, and I'm over there like Toy Story 3 that's
Oh, I'm glad we share that. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, Toy Story 3, man. I almost like audibly in the theater watching.
I went to college that year or the year immediately after. So it was right at the right time. So that I was right there with you. No, all three of the Toy Story movies. I know what I said. This is a theme here.
I made my thing of my favorite trilogies, and I had both Indiana Jones and Toy Story on there.
Yeah.
So
but those 3 Toy Story movies are just.
So Indiana Jones, you guys have any hope for The Dial of Destiny. Get the question out. Oh.
As soon as that subtitle came out, I'm like, oh, this is dumb.
That sounds like a Doctor Who episode.
It does. I actually think there is a PC game that is basically the same title, a Doctor Who PC game, something of Destiny. It involves obviously time travel. So, yeah, no, thank you. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen is cool, right? But his being in something is no guarantee of greatness.
I mean, there's all those rumors about reshoots, and the director's completely refuted that. I'm like, well, of course he doesn't want his movie to be DOA. Of course he would say that's not true. But I just don't see any other reason why this movie cost $300 million unless they've done a Justice League and they've reshot the entire movie.
Yeah, there's no telling it. If James Mangold has made some very good movies, so maybe, but I don't know.
Logan's great. So much so I'm like, everybody's excited about him coming back in Deadpool. And I'm like, not me, man. You're not going to get a more perfect exit. It's like Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Iron Man. It takes away that great ending when you have a character come back. So having Hugh Jackman come back for a fucking Deadpool movie, he didn't come back for Avengers Assemble, but he's going to come back for a Deadpool movie. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. It feels like it takes away the greatness that was the ending of Logan.
Well, they just have no sense of restraint, right? The people who are calling these shots at the higher level, right? And maybe that's not the directors, right? I mean, I'm sure it's not, right? It's got to be.
That's the studio.
It's the studio,
it's about
right?
butts and seats, my good
Make money,
right? And what they this is sort of there's an analogous situation in publishing, right? Where they will sort of they want to make money today, right? So what they'll do is completely destroy their reputation and credibility and the overall staying power and quality of their product, so they can make $10 more now rather than $100, in the next month, or $1 million in the next 10 years, because apparently, a bird in the hand is worth two, in the hand over the course of the next year, which is
the way
bad
you
math.
said that.
It's just so short-sighted. Because if they just had a reputation for always putting out 5-star product, they would sell more over time. But that doesn't, satisfy the quarterly reports, right? So,
Bo, I love Cobra Kai, though. I think Cobra Kai has actually redeemed Karate Kid 2 and 3. Honestly, it's made them better movies in hindsight. Really bad movies, it's made them really, really good in hindsight, I think, at least. And I always said that I felt like the people that made Cobra Kai are the ones who should have been hired to make the new Star Wars movies, because they understand how you do the next generation without completely taking a shit on legacy characters. They seem to be the only ones that get this. And I think Top Gun Maverick obviously did that as well, but I just think that's just Tom Cruise has still got so much stroke in Hollywood. He can do what he wants, really, Well, is Tom Cruise the last movie star?
Yes.
He's the last one I think that people will say, it's a new Tom Cruise movie, I'll go see it. Can you think of another actor anymore? Maybe Denzel, where someone's like, I'll go see anything that person makes. Do you think Tom Cruise is the last one?
Only Tom Cruise can make $1 billion on that smile last year. It was amazing. What he pulled off was undoable.
Did you guys go see Maverick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I mean, I went into it knowing I would probably like it, just based off of the reaction to it, but it even exceeded my expectations with those heightened expectations. So
I went into it expecting to hate it. I thought it was just going to be one more warmed over piece of garbage,
right?
Harkening back to the glory days of yes. Hey, do you remember nostalgia? Well, come on down. We got some more for you. And you walked in and it was like, no, we're not doing this. And they hit emotional moments right from the beginning, and they didn't lean on the past too much, and they let it work. I was amazed that thing worked.
Yeah, I heard the criticisms. Oh, it's just Star Wars: A New Hope. You know what? I loved it. I thought it was great. Did the trench run? It's great. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean that was because Joseph Kosinski directed that too, right? I've liked basically everything he's done. I thought Oblivion was pretty awesome.
I think besides The Mummy, I can't think of any movie Tom Cruise has made in this century that isn't at least watchable to me.
Yeah.
And I think the Mummy was his fault. So it was like, I'm sure by the time he signed and he read that script, he was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, that was Universal trying to relaunch the MonsterVerse, and
that was Universal. How do we make our own MCU?
Right.
It is amazing how difficult it is for these people to make Dracula and Frankenstein work.
Right.
Like,
you got some of the greatest characters. You don't have to work hard to establish these characters, and they just can't do it. I don't understand. Hire
how much
writers, man.
How much would you want to see a Frankenstein that took the notes that Frank Whale gave you in the original and just brought it into the new world visually without changing that much of the script? I would be hugely satisfied by something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And same with Dracula, right?
Yeah.
I don't, it's completely baffling. Like, these are not complicated characters, right? They are like pretty easy to understand, and it's not like anybody's unfamiliar with them, right? It's not like you like hired some random Hollywood person to try and like figure out, I don't know, Solomon Kane or something. Although the Solomon Kane movie is not bad.
Yeah, I'd say that's underrated, actually.
Yeah.
It's like nobody's seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, Howard's
I haven't read Solomon Kane, so I can't say how accurate it is to Mr. Howard, but I enjoyed that movie.
They made up an origin for him, right? Which they did with Conan too, right? But as far as like the spirit of the character, it's pretty on. James Purefoy is so good. He's just one of those guys, right? Super underrated. But
Andy, it's Frankenstein. I'm gonna show my kids that movie.
Have gone up.
I haven't shown my kid any Mel Brooks movies yet, but I think that I want to show him Young Frankenstein for sure.
I'm looking forward to showing him Young Frankenstein this coming Halloween, just because of the courtyard scene where it's sure you take the blonde, I'll take the one in the turban, and watching Gene Wilder trying not to crack up while he's doing it is the best thing ever.
You guys think that here's the thing is I don't feel like Mel Brooks has started giving more F's the older that he's gotten, because I mean the guy never gave a damn what anybody said. And
I hate Carl Reiner.
So, but the fact that they're making History of the World Part 2, and I was like, man, I just don't think it can be the same randy, offensive Mel Brooks movie. I was like, he's at I don't give a shit age now, and he was always kind of really there. But I just can't imagine he would let this come out if it was just safe. So the fact that it's going direct to Hulu makes me think he called in every favor he had, because the cast is like incredible. And
it really is.
It's all people that probably grew up loving Mel Brooks movies.
Oh yeah.
So I hope, because History of the World Part 1 is just hilarious, man. God, Mel Brooks humor is so good. Oh, I take it back. I have shown my kids Spaceballs. You're right. I have shown them that one.
History of the World Part 1 has my favorite joke of all time in it. So
what, you stand-up philosopher? Oh, you're a bullshit artist?
No. Gregory Hines walking down the street, and there's an old man with sunglasses on. He's like, "Hey, Oedipus, how you doing, motherfucker?" That's a good joke.
I thought War of the Worlds was okay. It was okay. It was watchable. That's what I say. I feel like most Tom Cruise movies are at least watchable. But yeah, I think the first 2/3 of it's really good. It kind of falls off towards the end.
Yeah,
a little bit. I don't know. H.G. Wells, again, it's not hard to adapt this stuff, I don't think.
Rolling the hair. So I think maybe the solution to the depression of the doldrums of the new stuff being boring is to go back and revisit the classics. Christopher, do you have a handy top 5 movies list that you'd be willing to share?
Not handy, but off the top of my head,
put it in stone.
Some of these are like pretty obvious, but I like Blade Runner is great. I rewatched that pretty recently too.
Which one?
Both of them.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Okay. Wait, is it the original or the new one with right? Oh, the old. Okay.
I like both of them, but
really?
but I was talking about the original. Yeah. I don't understand why people don't like the second one. I get that it's pretty different, but I don't understand why people think it's a bad movie.
I just thought it was so slow paced. You're dealing with the ADD nation now, and they don't like a movie that's that slow paced. But the first one was slow paced. You know?
Yeah, it is. They're both very slow.
It took me until I was like age 35 to like Blade Runner because I watched it when I was younger,
That feels
and I
right.
it's got Han Solo. I just wanted Star Wars, and it wasn't Star Wars. So
Definitely
it
not.
took me a long time to
No,
appreciate
it's
that.
pretty far from it actually. I showed my brothers because neither of them had ever seen it, and I think they were expecting Star Wars, and
Yeah.
I don't think that it quite worked for them, but I think it's great.
Daryl Hannah's best performance.
Oh yeah, totally.
Come on, man, splash.
He lives here somewhere. His son runs a Blade Runner like landscaping company. It's like the name of the mowing business, which I think is funny. But I really like Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh
I know
my
that's
man!
I know that's a pretentious choice, but
No, it
like,
isn't.
Can I tell you guys a secret? Never seen it.
You only have to watch the first half.
I mean, everybody tells you it's just like it was just for the time period. It was like so cinematic. It was like so expensive, and I'm always like, but was the movie good?
no,
just looked
it
beautiful.
is good, but you should go into it thinking about it like it's like a 2-part miniseries, even because it's like really long.
It's really.
I like movies
But
like I love Ben-Hur. I love Cleopatra. I love those
okay,
holidays.
so I
We
feel
watch
like
Ten
you'll be
Commandments
fine,
every
right? Like
Easter.
those are both also awesome, but like they don't really like even the historical epics they make now are like not the same, right?
Nobody's making David Lean movies. Come on.
Yeah, I just mean, well, yeah, obviously, right? But like they just the sheer scale where you actually have like a cast of thousands, like nobody does that, right? And so there's this sort of like time capsule quality to it too, right? Just in terms of the kind of production it is, and obviously like Peter O'Toole is like one of the greatest of all time.
Well, and Christopher, Omar Sharif's entrance, walking out from the desert at the well and just appearing from a speck on a horizon and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing until suddenly
and taking the time to do it too, right?
Yes. And nobody would ever do that because it's like it's something crazy. It's like 2 minutes and 10 seconds long where there's no dialogue, there's no music, it's just a guy walking toward you, and it's just amazing.
It's just so good, right? And the attention to detail too with things like setting,
all right, I'm adding it to my cart right now.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Well, and don't let us oversell you because there's plenty that's wrong with the movie.
I love classic movies.
The second act is pretty bumpy.
Guys, I just read The Outsiders finally today. So it's
like the S.E. Hinton book.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Me, Mr. Coming of Age.
I was about to say that's like the archetypal Mike book.
Exactly. So it's like one of those things where it's like sometimes there's just something that's classic that you just have never ever gotten around to. So Lawrence of Arabia is one of them for me.
That's
and
two.
Every time I try to show any of them to my wife, she always like I thought you're not going to like these Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone movies. You're not going to like them. You're going to think they're boring. She insisted. I like Clint Eastwood. I like Westerns. What do you know? The whole time, these are the most boring movies I've ever watched. I was like, ugh. So that's why I try not to watch a lot of classics around it, like serious classics.
Yeah, you gotta know your audience, right? Like totally changing gears. I love Highlander. It's it's
one.
Yeah.
There is only one,
right?
There can only be one.
Only one. Yeah, no, Highlander's great. I'm gonna count The Lord of the Rings as one movie. It's my favorite book too, so I kind of like has to go on the list. And then I don't know. I guess the list is
an old soul, huh, Christopher? Because most people, again, are trying to poke fun at the age thing. I'm saying that most people your age, they got to have an MCU movie in there. They got to have basically anything before like the year 2000 doesn't count.
I will be. I don't know that I can pick a single superhero movie to put in my top 5. Frankly, if I were inclined to do so, it would be Dark Knight. But like I just don't know that many of them, really get there. I know I put Highlander on the list, but shoot me. I just think Highlander is awesome. It's one of those I'll just watch 100 billion times.
That's one of the ones I tried to show my wife, and she just laughed at it the whole time. Like, this felt like just made me feel bad. Like I love this movie. Will you stop? I know it's got some 80s cheese in it, but damn it,
Yeah,
you grow up with it. That's not there.
It is finely aged, expensive cheese, is what it is. High quality,
made for boys.
Oh, absolutely, right. Like it's not a girl.
When we got together, she had never seen the Goonies. I was like, "Oh, you're gonna love this," and I showed the Goonies, and she was like, "This is not good." And I'm like, "Ah," that's when I realized you kind of have to grow up with this stuff, I think, or else it's just really rough with fresh eyes to go back and watch. So I wanted to make sure I showed all of these movies to my kids when they're younger, before they get that age where they start thinking everything's hokey, or corny looking. Like he will occasionally kind of lash out at how bad some of the special effects are, and I'm like, "Yeah, we didn't have this awesome thing where King Kong and Godzilla are fighting on a battleship and it looks real. We didn't have that. We had two guys in rubber suits crashing paper mache buildings.
Right, and it was awesome.
Yeah. But you know what? We didn't complain about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to pick. I'm
sorry.
All I want to say right now is Akira. I think that might be my pick, because like, I mean, I'm a big anime guy, and I do think that it's the single best anime film that there is.
I don't even know what you just said. So
Akira, Akira, Mike.
Akira. Okay.
Akira. Yeah. Sorry, I did 2 years of high school Japanese, so
he pronounces it the right way, which none of us do.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So Akira, no, like Cyberpunk is awesome, right? The guy who drew the comic book, directed, and illustrated the movie too, right? So he had to find a way to adapt his own work, which is sort of a thing you don't get to see that much, but it's just it's beautiful, right? It's a hand drawn cyberpunk film for grown-ups. There aren't a lot of those, right? Because even like by the time you get to Ghost in the Shell, which is also amazing, the CGI is starting to kind of creep in.
Yep.
And they don't do hand drawn animation at all. Really, certainly don't do it like they used to. And it visually is just a masterpiece.
Well, that's why I like the Bashki Lord of the Rings films, because that animation is just so unique.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's like mostly rotoscoped, isn't
like
it?
The orcs are just incredible looking on there. I've never seen anything else that looks like that. It's so wild.
Yeah, it is kind of criminal that the Return of the King, like Rankin Bass follow up, is just what it is, right? Like it. So sad. But no, so I'll stick to it. I'll stick to Akira. Mike, you have the books, don't you? Someone got you those. Do I remember that right, or am I?
Akira, I have volumes 1 and 2.
Okay,
but I said that would be the one that after I finish Finland Saga, that would be my next one, just because of how much people say they think I'll like it. So.
Yeah, I will echo that. I think you'll dig it.
Well, you weren't wrong about Berserk, at least not until it got to a certain point, but
No, it does get a little more anime, I guess, with the aside jokes.
Do you have a top 5 movies, Andy? I mean, on hand?
Oh,
in your head?
Yeah. Well, it just changed. Number 5 always kind of switches around. It's been a couple of different things over time.
Yeah. Just get you back into Lords of Arabia?
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. I'm bored with a lot of things that are coming out. I'm enjoying Last of Us. I know it's going to dry up and go away in another, 2 episodes or 4 episodes, and that'll be gone. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch Christopher's movies, right? And so I know that every single thing on that list is great. And I haven't seen any of those movies in 15 years. But taken care of. So I got an entire week taken care of now, which makes me really, really happy. So
that means less Disney Plus time, and that means you'll be better for it. You'll be more cultured.
Don't sleep on Moon Knight.
It's easy for me. Empire Strikes Back, Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
If you want to count Lord of the Rings as one, if not, Fellowship of the Ring, Back to the Future, and The Godfather. It's always an easy conversation for me.
Yep. And mine is number 1 for all time is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Nice.
I took a film school class when I went back to school, and I got to do like a character study in that movie. It was a lot of fun.
I worked for Tarantino for 2 years.
I can't swim.
But yeah, Butch and Sundance, the dialogue is absolutely perfect every single inch of every moment of that movie. And what's great is that William Goldman has 2 on my list because he also did Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Oh, Yeah.
I have taken every single screenplay writing class he has ever offered. I've read every single word he's ever written on writing. I love him. I'm sorry. It's not that he can't do anything wrong, but when he hits it, nobody else hits it the same way. That bell rings only for him.
There's probably a number of films I would say I've seen in the triple digits. Princess Bride would be one of them, because when we were younger, we had like the previews of Disney Channel, and we had just gotten a VCR. They were new. And we would record anything that came on, and we recorded Princess Bride. And man, we just watched that every damn day, and it never gets old. So I still think that's, besides Count of Monte Cristo, I think the Princess Bride has the best revenge arc in any story I've ever read.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I want to change my list now too, so I'll trade you.
Right?
Oh, and Louis, I got to work on Pulp Fiction. That was the first job I ever had out of college.
No kidding! Wow,
what did you do?
High roller over here.
Oh yeah, I was a producer.
I got coffee.
I was a production assistant. But
you did get coffee.
I got reels of film.
Nice.
I would pick up the reels of film in the metal cases and ferry them from one place to another so somebody could watch them. Like John Travolta would come in and watch, half a reel of a movie, and then you'd go somewhere else and deliver it to some other guy. Movie work is not sexy.
Sure.
So William Goldman is good for two of them, and Mel Brooks is good for another two, because I love Blazing Saddles. I think it may be the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, and just wall to wall phenomenal jokes. And Harvey
My wife
Korman
doesn't like slapstick movies, and she laughs her ass off at that one.
Harvey
Forget about that
Korman-
shit. Here comes Mongo. She still says that all the time.
Gong, 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 gong.
Oh, so
And then you take Mel Brooks to the other side, and it's Elephant Man.
Mm.
And that one, for whatever reason, grabbed a hold of my guts and just ripped them out. And every once in a while, when I feel bad about my life, I go back and I watch Elephant Man. It is David Lynch, piece of art. It's absolutely magnificent.
That's my favorite Lynch film for sure.
Lynch, you either love him or hate him. I think I usually tend to lean. Even the stuff with Dune '84, I still think he had some really good ideas. I really
absolutely.
do. The Harkonnens were just bad,
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and they didn't have the money, or they didn't have the technology to do the effects that it needed.
No, it was pretty ambitious for when that movie came
out.
Yeah,
and no matter what. Even if you're a perfect director, that's still a tough putt.
I think what Lynch did with Dune '84 is he did something that only Star Wars, I think it did, where he had actually made it feel like it was like a lived-in kind of dirty universe.
Everything had carbon scoring.
I love that.
Yeah, man, the sets in that movie are frankly cooler than the sets in the new one.
I even like the Guild Navigator even looked cool, I thought. So
yeah, the one place where the new one really fell down for me, you're talking about the color brown, right? Is just how empty it is.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like a Denis thing, like Blade Runner 2 kind of feels like you're on like an Elizabethan stage in some places, and it's like you need more shit. Denis. Like there needs to be more crap lying around. Why is there one chair in the library in Castle Caledon? I just don't know. That is not a very comfortable library. Who lives here? Not that there aren't really cool things about the design of the movie, right? The Thopters are perfect, right? Yeah. They're just completely perfect.
Well, and we've left T-Boat hanging for a while.
Yeah. Is anybody going to say not Pulp Fiction? Because I would like to hear that. Because I watched everything that Tarantino had written or directed, like with my wife, like a little retrospective about 5 years ago. And I thought for sure, Pulp Fiction is not going to be my favorite on this rewatch. And it still was. Reservoir Dogs is right there. But Pulp Fiction's great.
I think I like Reservoir Dogs a little bit better, but I will say I think the first scene in Inglourious Basterds, just at the dairy farm, is probably my favorite.
I think that probably does tension better than I've ever seen. Yeah,
it's just tremendous, and that's the movie that introduced me to Christoph Waltz, right? As I think it did for most of us.
Oh, pretty funny meme the other day of that with Christoph Waltz. At the beginning, and it says, "You have Hogwarts legacy under the floorboards, don't you?"
I saw the same
Oh, that's right. If you can't laugh at these memes, I'm sorry, you're dead inside. This stuff's hilarious. So, I mean, I understand people got strong opinions about it, but I love a good meme. I don't care how you feel about it. If it's a burn on something that I truly believe in, I think it's funny. I love the medics. Laughter is good for the soul, right?
Verily.
Wait, nobody's gonna bring up 4 Rooms or Jackie Brown?
I like Jackie Brown. I think Jackie Brown's completely underrated. I think that was just showing that Tarantino was so good at taking actors that maybe might have been considered washed up or past their prime, and he could just bring them back and like it was nothing. And he was just because he loves film, and you can't deny it. People will just trash Tarantino for all the wrong reasons, but like you can't deny that guy's love for film, man. He just loves making movies, and he loves movies, and he's watched a lot of movies. And some people will say a lot of his stuff's just not original. He just remakes stuff that he loves. And like he wears his influences on his sleeve, but they work for me. Hell, I even liked the Hateful Eight. I know Christopher didn't, but
that is basically my least favorite movie. Yeah.
That's fine. I think what you said was it didn't deserve Morricone's soundtrack.
That is what I said.
Oh,
I'm glad it got his Oscar, but that's the only nice thing I can say about that movie besides, hey, Kurt Russell was there. That's cool.
See, that's me with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought it was just all right. It's probably the only movie of his I'll never watch a second time.
Yeah, is the longest bottle episode I have ever seen.
It is.
It's just painful. And he starts narrating like halfway through the movie, which is just like, did you give up, Quentin? I don't understand. Right. Like, we can see someone poison the coffee. There's a film, Quentin. There's a film. It's not a radio play.
Yeah, but Kurt Russell actually smashed that priceless guitar in real life.
Right, that's a metaphor for the movie.
All right.
No, sorry. I was literally crawling out of my skin in the theater. My roommates were like, "No, let's stay. I've got more beer."
I remember Johnny Dangerously because I remember when he got cast as Batman. I was like, "Really, Mr. Mom, Johnny Dangerously is going to play Batman." And here we are, all these years later. Michael Keaton's come back as Batman. People are like, "Look, I don't have an interest in seeing the Flash, but I'm interested in Keaton as Batman again."
Yep.
So, you guys don't remember is before we had online mobs, we had petitions. And there were 2 petitions I remember as a kid that had like rallies. It was stop Next Generation Star Trek from getting made.
Yep.
And stop Michael Keaton as Batman. That was the 2 that I remember.
How dare he?
Yeah.
Well, more positively, wasn't there a giant campaign to like bring back Farscape, right? So
yeah, that one worked.
That one worked.
So. Yeah, that worked. The TV show Jericho, I love that. That had a fan campaign that got the thing brought back. Yeah.
I've heard about Jericho.
Great, but back then it was just like all outrage of like, how dare you have this comedic actor play Batman? And then the thing was, they're like, oh, it was too dark. I was like, so did you want Adam West? I mean, I'm not really sure what it was you were looking for, So
yeah, man, I think every single Batman casting has been met with like just absolute vitriol.
Every Doctor Who, every James Bond,
and
every single Batman. Yeah. People hate it until they see it.
Yeah. Because how can you possibly? Here's a photo of a guy. He's going to be Batman. He's not Batman. He looks nothing like Batman.
I learned my lesson with Heath Ledger because I trashed that Joker casting like crazy, and I liked Heath Ledger. I call it the Heath Ledger rule now. So whenever there's a casting, I'm like, I'll wait till I see it on film before I make my judgment.
Well,
even though it's not going to work, Jared Leto, it's not going to work. You're just like, well, let's wait and see.
When you can take a role away from Nicholson, you win. He was so good.
That's my thing with the Nolan Batman. Just like everyone talks about the villains. The villains were great. No one talks about Christian Bale as Batman. So
and he's only okay in that role. As Bruce Wayne, the Bruce Wayne stuff he's great at, right?
He's great as Bruce.
The voice and the lips. I know everybody harps on this, and this is not an original point, but it.
What's your brother, Christian?
Going to rewatch. Yeah.
Like I love watching those movies again. Even I'm kind of like snort laugh every time he does it. Yeah.
And it's weird because like he's great, right? Like Christian Bale is awesome in basically everything he's in. But man, it's just weird. It's just a weird choice.
Is it weird as Bane's voice in Dark Knight Returns? Is it as weird as that?
It's not as weird as Val Kilmer or George Clooney.
Dude, oh my God.
Okay, so there's that.
When my kids got old enough to where they were into Batman, and
I blocked those Schumacher films from my memory.
We started watching those, and we watched the Batman Returns. Even though it had issues, it still was enjoyable. I had no idea how much in my memory that I had just completely phased out how bad Batman Forever was. Like, I don't know, maybe I was just blinded by Nicole Kidman being like a goddess at the time or what. Because I saw that as a teenager, and I did not remember how awful that was.
By Jim Carrey
was basically just playing the Joker.
Yeah.
Two-Face was just playing the Joker. It was like, what in the world is this?
It happened.
Yeah,
I don't even remember. Everybody talks about Batman and Robin, and yeah, Batman and Robin is atrocious, guys. But I was like, Batman Forever is pretty painful too. And I like Val Kilmer. I like Val Kilmer a lot, dude. He was not good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love Tommy Lee Jones, right? You know, if you could say anything positively about that movie, it's that Tommy Lee Jones is having a good time. But that's
not like Batman Forever.
I'm not saying good in it, but he's at least he had fun on set. Like,
I don't know if he was having a good time.
Yeah, I heard him and Jim Carrey
on that movie too. He hated Jim Carrey.
Oh well, that's true. But he just, I don't know. Like, it looks like he's having fun in the role, at least to me, right? But I'm sure, like, right? Is Tommy Lee Jones ever having fun?
No, that's the joy of Tommy Lee Jones.
Right?
Is that
right?
Like watching a lemon dry, and it's just more and more bitter as it goes.
Hey, have you guys ever seen Lonesome Dove? Talk about Tommy Lee Jones. You ever seen Lonesome Dove?
I never have. I know.
I read the book for the first time. I watched the miniseries for the first time last year. And I loved it. So I feel like Tommy Lee Jones, it never gets brought up when they talk about his great movies because it was a TV movie.
Yeah,
the guy was good.
There's a scene with Robert Duvall on a horse where he's out racing Blue Duck on a shot going across the plain where the horse is galloping as fast as it can, and Robert Duvall is stock straight in the saddle, and he never goes up or down the entire shot. He just goes like this, and his knees are just shock absorbers. It is the most amazing horsemanship I've ever seen.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, Chris, for being a TV movie. Like, if you're a cinematography hound, like it sounds like me and Andy are, I think that you'll really appreciate it, even if it is. I don't know. Are you into Westerns at all?
Like, I like them. They're not like top of my list, but
okay. What's your favorite Western? You don't have to commit, but whatever.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, I think Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Or Tombstone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I also like Young Guns, even though I know it's not great, but it's fun. I have a great time with Billy the Kid and the group.
All right, that works. So classic Westerns. Haven't seen anything recently that'll set you on fire.
310 to Yuma was pretty good.
I was gonna go there. I just
Fascination of Jesse James by the Kyle Robert Ford. That was pretty good.
I thought that was boring, but I like 310 to Yuma a lot.
Yeah, I know. I get it. It definitely felt like about an hour probably could have been cut off the movie, but I did enjoy it for the most part.
Well,
it's kind of like they could have cut about an hour off that title too.
When I feel like, yeah, no kidding. There's so much ink on that print. The Unforgiven really worked as a deconstructionist Western, like taking apart everything Clint Eastwood had done. I thought that's really worth watching. And, you know, I'll watch Clint Eastwood do almost anything.
Yeah, right. And Jennifer, you nailed it. Like Open Range had
probably
the best gunfight I've seen
yes.
ever. Oh my God, the gunfights were so good. And it's like slow burn. I'm like, well, that's better have a great payoff. And it had all of the payoff. Oh my God, the gunfights were so good in that. Yeah. If it got Kevin Costner on a horse, I'll watch it. I mean, that's a rule. Kevin Costner either playing baseball or on a horse. He needs to make a movie where he rides out to the mound to pitch on a horse.
Yeah.
And it'll be the greatest movie of all time, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys watch Yellowstone at all?
I have not.
I probably just fell off a cliff. I'm not current, but I've liked everything that I've seen so far. And I haven't watched any of the 18 spinoffs that they've made.
My problem with Yellowstone was we got 3 episodes in, and I looked at Gloria and I was like, I don't think I like any of these people.
Yeah. It's very much Sons of Anarchy, but horses instead of motorcycles, and like none of them are good people. Yeah.
But I got over that with Game of Thrones, didn't I? Yeah. So clearly it's not a stopper for me. So I think I got to go back and take a look. Boy, Dances with Wolves, you bet.
Yeah.
Bone Tomahawk is that weird genre of Western horror. It was really good. Again, anything that Kurt Russell is in, I will watch. Anything. Yes. I even watched the Fast movies because Kurt Russell was in them. So that's
you are correct.
That's my dude. I love Kurt Russell.
Well, he's one of the best, man.
Can do no wrong. I mean, come on. Big Trouble in Little China is maybe the best bad movie I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing. It's just a video game. It's amazing. I mean, it was so good, guys, that like they basically made the character of Raiden in Mortal Kombat based off of that movie.
Yeah.
It's amazing. God, it's so good. My wife, she was like the one Kurt Russell movie she hadn't seen when we were dating. I was like, I'm gonna watch this Kurt Russell movie. She's like, ooh, I'll stay for a Kurt Russell movie.
Bad
She watched about to where they're having like the first alley fight. She's like, all right, I'm going to bed. It's like but she's still come around on John Carpenter. John Carpenter's a tough sell for a lot of people. They aren't into his style.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They live. Enjoy.
The thing was, we showed her all of the John Carpenter movies, and They Live was her favorite.
They Live is wonderful, but if
I don't get political, but she's very libertarian, and she thought that movie said a lot. Let's put it that way.
Did say a lot.
Yeah, said a lot without saying so much. But my kid thinks that that's the greatest fight scene in movie history, and I'm like, you're not wrong. Definitely not wrong.
It's certainly the longest fist fight in movie history.
My kid was just like screaming at the screaming at the screen. Just put on the damn glasses.
Put on the damn glasses. David Keith just giving back as good as he gets. That was.
But the thing is my
favorite
movie of all time.
Yeah. The Thing is not a good bad movie.
No,
the thing is more than a horror movie. The Thing is like this primordial experience.
Paranoia better than The Thing, I don't think.
Yes.
And again, and then you have Kurt Russell, and he's got a beard this time.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
And a flamethrower.
And Keith David. So I mean, that was an awesome movie, man.
No,
creepy too. Special.
You ever read Who Goes There, Mike? The original.
Have I seen the original Thing?
No, read the novella. Sorry, I'm making it about books just for
I haven't.
It is incredibly good for how I think it was written in the late 30s, early 40s.
Is it like 50 pages long?
It's like I think it's like 80 pages long. It's you read in one sitting, no problem. The Carpenter film is pretty close to it, actually. I mean, they moved it up into the 80s, right? But aside from that, it's like all the characters are basically in the right place, but it is genuinely frightening. It's a lot of Campbell's stuff hasn't really aged that well, but that novella is absolutely worth reading. So as much as you like that movie,
I should.
Read it.
I mean, the fact that I showed that to my kid, and he actually has theories for the ending I've never even thought about before. So I can't think of what they were right now, but I was like, I've thought about that ending for years trying to decide what I think, and you just brought up a new one. So that's what's great. Again, like I said, sharing that stuff with your kids is. He's more of a critical thinker than me, I guess, because he came up with all kinds of weird stuff. I was like, I didn't even think that. So, yeah, good times. So if you get him to put down the device long enough to pay attention to a movie, I can do it. Escape from New York is awesome. You're right. Again, Kurt Russell with an eye patch. Hell yes. Bring it on.
I heard you were dead.
Yeah.
So my question is Escape from New York a good, bad movie? Or
I think it's a good low budget movie. Yeah, I mean, we make that movie on $12 or something, but it's great.
They had a lot of matte photography.
Every time I watch that, you ever get this thing where watching one movie makes you want to watch another, even though they're not anything alike? Every time I watch Escape from New York, I have to watch The Warriors immediately after. I think it's just because it's the same dirty city run by gangs kind of thing. I'm not really sure, but God, The Warriors is so much fun. I can't believe there's still so many people who have not seen The Warriors.
It feels like that whole thing with the guy with the red mohawk coming out. That whole Warriors come out and play. Idea just brings everything in, and the rawness of it. It's almost got like a Lord of the Flies aspect to it, where it's just whoever is strongest wins.
It still has just some awesome fights in it.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really does. Yeah, man, that's such a good movie. And that's one of those that I loved. My wife was just like, if you say so, honey, and I was like,
it's not for boys.
It's not too late to annul this marriage, I have movies
right here. That. I don't have to like what you like.
I told her that right before the wedding, I realized she'd never seen Smokey and the Bandit, and I was like, I can't go through with this until you watch Smokey and the Bandit. And then I was nervous. Oh God, what if she hates it? But she didn't. She liked it.
She'd leave you like Sally Field.
Yeah, who didn't like Sally Field? I mean, come on, it's America's sweetheart at the time, right?
Always.
Have you ever seen any of these movies, Christopher?
Yeah.
Just making sure. I mean, you.
Did I just quoted? I said the come out and play thing before Andy did.
Dude,
or right after.
Back when I used to actually drink a lot, and there was a time. Every time we'd have empty beer bottles, we started come out to play.
I've mostly maybe half a generation out of phase because my parents were really careful. I'm the oldest. So my parents were really careful about letting me watch just whatever. So I could watch stuff that they decided was okay, but like I couldn't just go on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. And so I was like allowed to watch like the Boomerang cartoons. So like I watched Pirates of Dark Water and like like Silverhawks and stuff, right? And not like I don't know whatever was on. Like I think never watched a whole episode of SpongeBob, right?
Would you say your age gap was here? Like you were the last generation where the Star Wars original trilogy was the last.
I was born in '93, so I and my dad had the laser discs of the original Star Wars trilogy, so I watched the like unLucased versions.
Yeah,
right. So like I remember Star Wars, right, like before Phantom Menace, like just barely. So I was right there, but I was also like reading Harry Potter before the rest of my classmates were because I was reading early. So like I remember being bullied for reading Harry Potter.
So it's funny. Things have come full circle. Now you get bullied for reading Harry Potter again.
Yeah. It's
Too much.
All right, there you go, Christopher. Yeah. Pirates Dark Water. I haven't thought about that yet. Tim Curry. Tim Curry's a legend.
Right.
Yeah.
He voiced Hook in that. Oh God, I love him.
Yeah, no, it's great. There's a Pirates of Dark or recurring Pirates of Dark Water reference in Sun Eater. It's very obvious if you've watched the show.
Outstanding. Well, how about okay? So the reason I brought that up is a lot of like after school kind of cartoon stuff that everybody was into. It seems like right when I got out of watching cartoons because I got really involved in sports and stuff in high school. I think the last after school one that I watched was like Tiny Toon Adventure. So I miss like Animaniacs. And it seems like that's where most people I talk to seem to start is with Animaniacs. So were you an Animaniac?
I watched it a little bit, but it was like never really like my thing.
About Gargoyles. I miss Gargoyles too. Everybody talks about Gargoyles.
More David Keith.
Yeah, Gargoyles is pretty awesome. That was like it was like that and Batman the Animated Series were like the new things I was sort of allowed to watch at the time.
Oh man, I was like Darkwing Duck, Tiny Toons, DuckTales. Basically anything duck related was usually pretty good. Tailspin, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. This was my stuff. So everybody.
Yeah, I watched a lot of that stuff too. So.
Were you a Power Ranger?
No,
you couldn't do that.
Okay. No, no. I wasn't allowed to, and so like you do this.
Wait! You weren't allowed to.
I was not allowed to watch Power Rangers. My parents didn't know if it was okay or not,
right?
Because they like hadn't seen it. So and you do this weird thing, or it's like, or at least some people do, where your parents are like, "You're not allowed to watch that." You decide it's stupid, so you don't feel like you're missing out, or you go and like watch it anyway. So I decided Power Rangers was dumb because I wasn't allowed to see it, and that sort of salved my inability.
I bring that up because I always said that in my generation, it was like He-Man was like the one that lasted like 6 years. I mean, all this stuff would come and go so quick, and He-Man lasted like 6 years. Like Power Rangers was like the first thing for the next generation that had like the same longevity as He-Man did. So that's why I was bringing that up. But I was at that age where I was like, I would just see a clip of Power Rangers and I would just laugh at how bad it was. And I feel bad because when you're younger, obviously you don't think like that.
Right? It just looks cool.
Yeah.
Christopher, did you watch Samurai Jack?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, Samurai Jack is nice.
Yeah. No. Tartakovsky's awesome. His Clone Wars is frankly cooler than the Lucas one.
He made those like anime looking ones. Yeah, I remember the one where Mace Windu like basically karate chops like the whole planet.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's super cool.
Mace Windu doesn't even get out a lightsaber; he just punches all these robots. He punches them all in the face. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, it's not very long, so like really comparing the two Clone Wars is foolish, right? Because they're completely different media, really. But it's so good. I haven't seen Primal though. I hear it's pretty awesome.
Is that Transformers?
No, Primal is Tartakovsky's like new show.
Oh.
It's kind of like a Conan thing, I think, but I haven't seen it.
I watched some Animaniacs when it dropped on Netflix with my kids, and I can see why people liked it a lot. It's fun. But I don't know. I didn't think I'd be talking about after school cartoons here, but that's where these conversations always lead us to. But yeah, I was the Transformers G.I. Joe era, so. But that's when they were back when cartoons were still on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, right.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Which you want to talk about longevity? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has never lost popularity, like ever.
No.
That's
My
perfect.
kids still have.
They're the
I mean, my
best.
kids have like a lunchbox with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on it. I mean, so it's that's one thing that's never seen a lot.
You see, they just put out a new game like in the style of the old ones.
Yeah,
I haven't
it's like
played it
Game
yet,
Pass. Yeah,
but
it's cool.
yeah,
If you like the old arcade game, yeah, you'll like it.
I'm planning on getting that, but haven't had a chance yet.
Game Pass is great, man.
Yeah. Did you guys ever read the comic books for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
After I really got into the cartoon, I was like, "Holy hell, is this different?" Yeah,
It's way different.
yeah,
so
way
dark.
different, way more adult, I think, too. So it's
Yeah.
like, wow, this is. Oh, you guys ever watch that the Toys That Made Us that they have on Netflix, and they have the creators of Ninja Turtles are on that Ninja Turtles episode, and it's really interesting seeing how different that cartoon was based off of their comic. It's like, wow, how did this happen?
Well, we like the title. We don't like anything that you did, but we're going to keep the characters, and we're going to have friendly turtles and a nice rat who's their mentor.
And that hasn't stopped, because
They'll
you
go
see
on
all
adventures.
these things that now it's just like, oh, we're going to adapt this, but it's going to be nothing like the source material. And it's just like, then why did you make it? And it's like, oh, we just wanted the name. We just wanted the name recognition. So you're just going to piss off all the people who love it, and the people who don't or just don't even care? All right. It's a bold choice, bold strategy, and see if it works for him.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. Oh, wait,
Ren
it
and
did.
Stimpy was just gross, man. I watched it, but it was just gross.
Thank you. There was
that made me paranoid that like there was so much stuff in my ears or something, because every time it would do a close up on their ears, it was like disgusting.
Yeah, it was stuff like that prevented me from watching other things, because my parents were like, no, like we've seen contemporary animation. You can watch Yogi Bear, right?
Yes.
No, which
My
is
parents
awesome.
are more strict about what music I was listening to. Until my generation, guys, they had nothing wrong. They had nothing to complain about with us, so they made up Satanic Panic. And Chris, I know you're a big metalhead, 80s metalhead fan, so you understand. They just thought that this was going to be the downfall of our civilization because we would listen to an Ozzy Osbourne album. So we had to like hide all of our albums and shit at the time. So MTV was like actually blocked on our TV at home. We had to go to a friend's house, and we did. We just went to the friend's house and watched it over there.
Sure.
And that's back when MTV was playing music. I know a lot of people don't even understand what this is.
Huh?
Yeah, it was everything. But my generation, they had nothing to complain about, so they made up Satanic Panic. Yeah, we were playing our records backwards, and we were going to like go sacrifice the cat, and spread blood on the walls and do a seance and summon Satan.
It's almost as bad as that terrible Elvis Presley music.
I know, right? I was talking about that when I was reading Boy's Life by Robert McCammon, and like they're talking about how all the parents are just out of control about how awful of an influence the Beach Boys are. It's like the Beach Boys,
right?
Wow, the Beach. Talk about the most family-friendly music of all time, and they were scared of the Beach Boys. So I was like, yeah, it wasn't new to my generation. So yeah, I get it.
I feel like it's just a circle that keeps going around. Because every time the next group of kids turn 14, 15, 16 and can drive a car, the generation above them needs to come up with reasons why they're going to hell.
Well, yeah, because now they don't learn how to drive cars because they don't want to, because they got tablets. They don't need, like, my kids won't play with toys anymore. Once they got tablets, it's just like, forget toys. I don't need toys anymore. Hell out of here.
Yep, that's the end of that.
But yes, my generation, TV was gonna ruin us. It's just different.
It rotted our brains. We're dead now.
Whereas I'm like, hey, cool, what game are we playing? I'm probably a bad influence there. You guys playing any games right now? You doing any gaming?
Yeah, I just finished playing Tales of Arise, a Japanese RPG. It was okay. It was like really good for the first half, and then usually in Japanese storytelling, you have like the turn moment where there's like a huge plot twist, right? It's sort of a staple of the way they structure things. And after that, it just like kind of fell apart, which is kind of disappointing. But it was still fun to play. Getting ready for Zelda, because that is my jam.
So. Yeah, I mean, that's my favorite franchise in gaming is Zelda for sure. But Daniel, that's why the new season of Stranger Things was so good, because they touched on the Satanic Panic over Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s. Yeah, big time. They thought we were all doing like rituals. It's great. It's great stuff. Just going to listen to our Iron Maiden
remember my dad coming to me and asking me, so you play this character in this game, right? Yeah. Well, if that character died, would you kill yourself? I
appreciate that our parents talked to us. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, okay. Yeah. I'm trying to make up time and finish some games I can before Zelda comes out, because I know that game will take over my life. So I'm trying to go back and finish what God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Zero Dawn 2, whatever the hell it was called. Forbidden West.
Forbidden West, yeah.
I gotta finish the Samurai game, whatever.
I didn't play that series. It had the worst release luck. The first one came out like within I think 2 weeks of Breath of the Wild. The second one came out within like 2 weeks of Elden Ring. So like, no, sorry, I got places to be.
I had no interest in Elden Ring, and everybody tells me you should, and I'm just like, nah.
No, I love From Software.
So I don't like games that are so hard they're just gonna make you flip tables. I don't get more patient as I get older, so no.
So both of you love Breath of the Wild, yep?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think it was about that game that really set you on fire? Was it anything?
For me, I have been with Zelda since the original gold cartridge that we got with our NES.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous to go alone, take this, and then boom, you're just dropped in the middle of an open world, doesn't tell you what to do, nothing. You just got to go explore. And that's what I appreciate about Breath of the Wild. It was so open. You could go I know a lot of people didn't like that there wasn't like specific dungeons and stuff like Zelda has dictated over time, but it had dungeons. They were just broke up into 160 pieces. And there's those shrines. So I was fine with it. I just love the idea of extra. I'm a big single player open world campaign type. That's my thing. So I just thought that it just dropped you in an open world. It didn't tell you, hey, you're not strong enough to go here yet. You had to go there and die and figure it out. Okay, I'm not going to go over that area yet. Let's go over here where maybe I can. So a lot of trial by error.
See, you would like Elden Ring. You actually would. It's a little more frustrating, but I don't know that it's any more frustrating than running into a Linnell in Breath of the Wild.
Oh my gosh.
But I love Breath of the Wild, but I do think it's missing a lot of the like classic Zelda components that I really wanted. I think the story kind of thin on the ground relative to like Wind Waker. I think Wind Waker is the best Zelda game, just in terms of like sort of like dramatic experience. I just think it's great. I also think it's like the presentation. I was one of those people who's like, this game looks terrible. And then about 20 minutes, I'm like, never mind. Like, this game is amazing.
Oh, I was totally against the animation style. I was like, I after they did that demo where they had demoing the new system, and they showed Ganon and Link fighting, and it looked hyper realistic, and we were so excited. And then we got that. I was so disappointed.
Dude, I remember.
We finally got that with Twilight Princess. We got that game. So I really liked it, but it's still always just going to be Ocarina of Time because, guys, you don't understand the hype and the anticipation for that game, and then it met them. And the fact that system, in my opinion, that system's kind of a cluster. I know a lot of people that grew up with it, that's their system, and I get it. But them refusing to embrace new technology and sticking with cartridges, horrible idea, sticking with polygons. But that game pushed that system to its limits, and it's still so replayable. I would love a remaster, like a rebuild of that game. That would be so
I replayed it a couple months ago. I have the 3DS version, and it totally holds up.
Yeah.
It's great. But with Breath of the Wild, I agree with you, Mike. I think that like the open world, stuff was awesome. Because a lot of those open world games, the actual like map part, like running around Skyrim is mostly boring, right? You're kind of like getting to the interesting parts of Skyrim, and then you do something, and then it's like, why don't I just fast travel? You almost like don't want to fast travel playing Breath of the Wild. Obviously, you do all the time, but like if you could just like keep walking, right, you will. And the map is just really well designed, right? And there's there's something more or less everywhere. But I missed the dungeons. I think it would have been better served. This is why one of the reasons I like Elden Ring is Elden Ring has a lot of that same feeling in terms of how the general map is built. But there are still giant, like old school dungeons of the sort you'd run into in the Dark Souls games, right? And those are really convoluted and very challenging and just really well designed. And they tend to be more vertical in the way that, like, especially Dark Souls, like 1's maps are very vertical, as opposed to very spread out and kind of open. I wish, and I hope that Tears of the Kingdom is going to do some of that and actually have stuff in there. I also like the enemy variety in Breath of the Wild is really kind of not there. There are like 10 enemies. There are like 2 bosses, and like the main bosses are the worst that the 3D games have ever had. Like they are just.
I agree that the Divine Beast levels were not that exciting to me.
Yeah, and the Blight Ganons all kind of look the same. I really screwed myself because I did the desert stuff first, and that's the best one. You have to do the whole Yiga clan thing first to do the dungeon. Like, that's great. There's gonna be like a stepstone to each of the beasts. There'll be a whole dungeon with a boss fight. Nope, it's just that one, right? So I was like let down on the other three. And it's weirdly, like, from a dramatic standpoint, like, all the characters are dead. So like there's a lot of sort of it's hard to try to connect with them, at least for me. I know that's not true for everybody, because I saw Zin say, like, am I the only one who thinks that the game was bad? And the answer is is like, yeah, you are, because that game sold like I think something like 20 times what any of the other ones had. Like, it was way bigger than maybe 10 or something like that than any of the other Zelda games, even Ocarina of Time, right? Just most Zelda fans are Breath of the Wild fans. And like, we Orthodox Zelda fans are a minority now in our own church. So
the Orthodox Church of Zelda.
Yes.
See, but that's the thing. I think why I think that this is my favorite franchise in gaming is I like all the games for different reasons, except Majora's Mask. I don't understand why people love that one so much.
What? Mike, I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Mediocre.
That is my second favorite Zelda game.
You can be
it is right after Wind Waker.
That's fine. Anyhow,
it is so
with me,
good.
I think I like them all for different reasons, but I think that they still just always keep those same core principles. They literally keep telling the same story over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm fine with it. Keep doing it. And my kid's gonna be real upset when he realizes, no, I'm not bringing your Nintendo Switch downstairs for you to play on the big TV. I'm bringing this down here for me to play, and you can watch. So yeah, this will be the first time I bullied at him a little bit, I think. Because when Breath of the Wild came out, he was so young. I've told the story before about we were putting the kids to bed at 7:00, and me and my wife were playing every night until 1 a.m. on work nights, because we got so wrapped up in Breath of the Wild. And I'm pretty sure we'll end up doing that with this one too. So that's just Zelda. It defies all rules, and my ability to be a parent just goes right out the window.
It strips you of that skill and says, no, we're going here.
And it's not like Final Fantasy, which maybe has a good one once in a while now, where Zelda just occasionally has one that isn't that great. Like, I think Skyward Sword, I say, would probably be one of my least favorites. It's still playable. I really blame the controls on that one. I fucking hated the Wii bullshit controls.
So the Switch port is significantly improved because of that. There's still a little motion control-y stuff, moving the Joy-Cons, but it's mostly normal. And it is it's much better. Having
Shield Bash and Stab be basically the same thing, and he always does the opposite one of what you need to do. Oh my god.
And whether or not the Wiimote is twisted will impact whether or not this is vertical or horizontal, right? Yeah. It's
same thing with the Metroid Prime one, making part 3 where you had to do all those motion controls. Like, F this, man, I'm out.
Yeah, no, the Wii, the Wii was really great if you were like a 5-year-old or wanted to play Wii Fit Trainer, but for an actual gamer, it was not the right machine.
Well, I was always make that optional. Don't make that mandatory. Make that the only way to play, especially a Zelda game. No.
Yeah, no, I hate that. I hate VR. I just I want to play video games like a normal person.
My wife has been playing Oculus every single night for 3 months, and it drives me nuts.
Just because you have no interaction with her whatsoever?
No, because I'll be in the bedroom reading, and the room that she's playing in is right above me, and I hear her stupid steps. Because it's basically this game that she's playing. It's called Beat Saber. It's you guys remember Guitar Hero or Rock Band? It's basically that, but in VR, where you just
Beat Saber's awesome.
Everything. And so she's basically dancing above my head, and I'm like,
Just tell her to go play somewhere else.
So basically, it's you to the point to where my kids had to be she got onto him the other night because she's like, why didn't you charge the VR? I was planning to play, and finally he was like, it's mine. I was like, that's right, dude. Stand up for your shit.
It's mine. I'll let you borrow it, Mom.
Yeah, I do want that Dead Space remake. That looks really, really good. Or a good remake. I complained that I hate the biggest releases now always seem to be just remakes. But when they're rebuilt and done well, it's actually something that's really quite good.
I need to point out 2 things from when we were talking before about television shows and going back to older stuff to help bridge the gap between things that come out that are new that you enjoy. 2 things that were mentioned up above were The Wire And that show obviously gets a lot of credit, and it is absolutely worth watching.
If you can make it through season 2, The Wire is really good.
That's an interesting take. We
Season
might come
2,
back around to that.
I did not like season 2 at all. I did not like season 2 at all. But 1, 3, 4, and 5 are great.
Sorry, let me oh god, now I completely lost it.
Season 2 was all about the idiots on the docks, and it just was not that fun.
The Wire and The Expanse. Those are the 2 shows that you need to add to your list, folks.
Yeah, I love it.
For stuff that might get you through hard times, because both of those seasons are good. Okay, now, Mike, you didn't like season 2 because what?
Because I just thought that the cast sucked. You had that cast that you really grew to love in that first season, and then it did a Malazan, and it completely fucking changed the cast on you in season 2, and littered in some characters here and there. No, I just wanted Jimmy. I just wanted Omar. I wanted those characters that I loved from season 1.
Omar coming.
Yeah.
Omar coming.
And so they listened. And season 3, 4, and 5, they gave me what I wanted. So.
Yeah. What was weird about that show is that every season started over with a completely different point of view. And it's like the main character is the city of Baltimore. And you've got one season that's about education, one season about the docks, and one season about so they broke it so completely before they started every single season. And what's amazing is how many times that they got it right.
Yeah, one thing you got to blame that show for, though, is it made everybody believe that Idris Elba was a leading man actor, and he wasn't.
Yeah, he was just really good looking.
Yeah. Oh, he's handsome. And I was like, Luther was a great TV show.
I was about to say, he's a good leading man at least once, right? Luther is good.
In a movie, I was like, name one leading man movie that Idris Elba had that's great.
It's funny you say that, because apparently the Luther movie is not good.
It's a curse. It's a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and The Expanse is the other one. We can go down that rabbit hole as much as you want. But the characters that they developed during the course of The Wire were just maybe the best on television.
That was great
during that time period, certainly.
Again, HBO is usually pretty consistent. They have some misses now and then, but their great shows are all-time great,
Yeah, when they get it right, they knock it out of the park.
Yeah, until they let idiots make decisions on, long-running fantasy shows that
right. Or they run out of book. Yeah.
Yeah, they run out of book material. Yeah, it does happen from time to time. Shit, I even like Sex in the City. I don't care. I'll say it. Somebody said earlier, like, "Oh, you gonna did anybody admit that they watched Dawson's Creek?" Shit, I watched Dawson's Creek. Shit, yeah. I watched 90210. I watched Melrose Place, son. Sorry.
I remember Melrose Place watching parties. Those were atrocious.
I think I was old enough yet. Yeah, I just watched it because it had Heather Locklear on it, and I liked looking at that. So.
Yeah. Somebody was saying the other day, oh, that's right. It was an article about Ant-Man and how nobody liked Ant-Man. And he was like, does it matter at this point that the Marvel movies are not good? Sometimes you just want to walk into a theater and see a 25-foot-high pretty face.
And that's what I've always had a problem with. Why do people defend to the death, even if it's a bad movie? Oh, that's okay. What? You guys are critical. That's why I always say people are so hypercritical of every single movie unless it's an MCU movie. And then they're like, "Oh, just turn your brain off and have some fun." Okay.
I turn my brain off, I'll die. That's not how brains work.
And I think it's a generational thing. It's just the more and more that movies are just soulless because they're 85% CGI, I just don't care.
Right. Well, how does the meme go? Right. Consume product and get excited for next product.
Again,
it's they live, right?
They
Only
live. A lot of things.
The aliens and they live aren't telling people to start families anymore. It's just go buy more Funko Pops. Forget about tomorrow. Invest in vinyl collectible figurines with dead eyes.
So that's why when there's a movie like a Top Gun Maverick, where it's pretty much most Tom Cruise movies where the stunts are real and the effects are practical, yeah, we love it. We love it because it feels like they're actually still trying. They're not just like, let's just send this to the dorks down and you know what? And we've got to put out 6 movies this year, so we're not even going to worry about getting the CGI good. Just get it out there. Get it out there. And I heard that the third act of the new Ant-Man is just another CGI diarrhea fest. I'm like, well, what a shock. Isn't that what MCU's been doing that since Phase 2.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And
We're going to give you a really weird universe and an environment. You're going to move through it. Not one thing's going to be practical. You'll have a blast. It'll be fun.
dude, people are talking about Charles in Charge in here. Jane,
What? Whoa, hang on. Whoa. We are off the rails if we're talking about Charles.
I bet you right now, clear your head, and I bet you can recite that theme song in your head right now. Don't have to sing it, but I bet you're hearing it. Yeah. Yeah. Can you believe there was women who actually liked Scott Baio? I mean, actually, like, were attracted to Scott Baio.
Fantastic hair.
I mean, we have some weird things as guys. Like, you look back at some of your like celebrity crushes, and you're like, it was like a thing, but at least it was never Scott Baio. You know, I had like Tiffany Amber Thiessen and things like that. You know, I had good stuff.
L McPherson, your Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Okay, that's a good final question, I think, before we get out of here. Is first celebrity crush?
Okay, I have to go first because mine has to be the oldest because it was like 7 or 8 years old. And dun 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 dun, and Linda Carter came on the screen, and she was running, and she was running, and things were heaving.
And you were like, I don't know why, but I like this.
Yeah, and she had Star-Spangled Underpants, and I was like, I will watch this show every week.
Yeah, she was a babe. Yeah. Mine was Susanna Hoffs. I saw the Walk Like an Egyptian video, the Bangles, and again, like I said, I think that I knew I liked it. I didn't really understand why, but I liked it. So yeah, it was Susanna Hoffs.
Yeah,
Christopher, you got an answer?
I'm not honestly sure.
Wow.
Maybe Princess Leia. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I have a really hard time remembering like my own life. Actually, like if you ask me like what year something
that's a good
happened,
answer, Michael.
You know, but yeah. Jennifer Connelly and the Rocketeer. Can I change my answer?
Holy hell, yes. Oh
yes.
God. Yeah. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna steal Lund's answer. Lund is a man of culture.
I remember when they were asking Michael Keaton if he was going to come back for a third Batman movie, and he says, "Well, when they write things in the script like Michelle Pfeiffer licking your face, it's kind of hard to not be interested." So he had it figured out. So good for him. Yeah, Jennifer Connelly. Oh my gosh, career opportunities, you guys. That movie was seminal to my coming of age. See, we talked about Jennifer Connelly and Christopher locked up.
I just need to point out your use of the word seminal, and then I'll.
I was debating whether or not I should point out Mike's use of the word seminal, and then I was like, I'm gonna let it go.
You know what? This is live, baby. Things happen. Things happen sometimes. But yeah, Fast Times, Ridgemont High. Yeah, that's all.
The most worn down section of any Blockbuster video VHS tape in existence.
Like that tape is like really thin right here. I don't understand what's going on. Yeah,
look at the lines going through.
All right, this is going to get into really, really bad territory, so I think we should call it. But thanks for hanging out on a Friday night. I thought we'd do this for like an hour, and here we are, like going almost on 2. But
nice.
So much that Christopher's like completely frozen now. So
it's so sad. He
can still hear you. Yeah, that works.
Visibly. Oh, yeah, that's flattering. Okay,
you look contemplative.
That's very strange. I have no idea.
He looks like he's thinking about that Phoebe Cates scene too.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. If I do that, it just stays frozen. Well.
All right, well, guys, we're going to take off, but thanks for hanging with us. Hope everyone has a great rest of their weekend, and guys, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Any